welcome back to my YouTube channel. I'm Liam. Today we're previewing round 6. There's a lot of news around fossil rookies not being rested, injuries to Ridley, Danger, Walker, and what do we do with them. So hopefully I can give you some good insights for this coming round. So what I like to do is see who you should target. You shouldn't probably target any of these cheap rookies. None of them have any job security, and I prefer to see a player play a game before seeing how they go into my team. These are the interesting ones, the 200 this price bracket, and I feel like you want to at least target at least one of these this week, if not two. My number one pick for the week is Bergman. With his forward defensive status, he's got a lovely role at Port in the back line. I see him averaging probably 60 to 70 for the rest of the season. You don't want him for the rest of the season, but until you need him. He's got that forward defensive link now, which is handy with the Cox, Kaczynski, Zeeble, Fantasia. And plus he also, which I'm going to use for this week, provides good cover for Jordan Ridley in defence. And also, as the rookies are slowly being managed throughout the season, you want some flexibility in your lineups to be able to field a full team, and because donuts are not what you want at this early stage of the season. So here's my number one choice. McRae, again with flexibility, will be my number two. Even though Farah's got an 86 in the lowest break even, I personally feel McRae's got a better long-term role at Collingwood if he gets that wing midfield role. As you saw in the last quarter, he had 12 touches and pretty much quadrupled his score. And so if he gets that role, I see him averaging fairly well. There is still some worries that if he doesn't get that role, he goes back to that 5-10 points a quarter, which is not what you want. But his flexibility between mid and forward is very handy. Farah's my next one. He will get defensive status later on. Has a low break even, but there's a lot of forwards that with the new DPPs coming in, that a lot of mids have got this forward status, so it's pretty clogged down in the forward line. So finding it hard to find a spot for him, for me personally. But if you need a forward spot, Farah's certainly one I would be looking at. Pro next is Boston Volagi at North. He's playing a defensive role. The ball's just going to be down there 100% of the time. So I should see him averaging that 50 to 60 mark, which would be handy. Again, as a forward, I don't see a spot for him in my team, but certainly possibly as a utility in others. McCreary scored well in the last 2 weeks. It's just I don't like targeting a lot of forward pockets. And again, along with Farah and the forward thing, Jones, I would prefer Bergman over him for a similar price. I wouldn't probably be going him now. He's 38, just puts a bit of a dent in his scoring, just like Burgess at 30. Even though the Burgess got that defensive ruck, which could be handy, I don't see him scoring more than 45. Zach Reed's an interesting one. He looked good early, slowed down a bit late in the game. But again, I would go Bergman over those two. If out of Jones and Reed, I probably would go Reed, only just. But I feel like I wouldn't want 260k, paying 260k for 45, 50s. An interesting one along is Campbell with the rucks, but I feel like as Flynn's back this week, you won't need him as such, but North's looking to give more of a 50-50 role between Goldstein and him in the rucks, so he is definitely a possible option. Probably will average that 60 mark I see him doing. And another one is Mansell for 200k. His job security at Richmond's a bit iffy, but I would certainly target him over a Jones or a Reed for that extra cash. So that's the downgrade options. There's not really many more. There's not really any in the 300 to or the 400 category. In the 500 category, if you're wanting to get rid of Ridley, Shoal and Impey are two possible options which I would recommend. They have gone up a fair bit, but I see them going up another 100k, and I do see them being long-term investments in the backline. I don't see them as top 6, but certainly top 10 to 12, these two, and both with flexibility, especially Impey with his forward defensive status. Both teams love balls in both their hands, so that's what you want for your fantasy team. Darcy is another option you could play with Rucks not performing, but I see him being rested. Plus, he got a little knock to his knee the other game, so he is an option, but it's not one on most people's radars. These West Coast players performed very well last week, but I do wait and see. They played a Collingwood side and just lets up a lot of ball. Walker, I would honestly personally trade him because he's calf niggles now, and I just don't see him. If he misses a week, it's just you've made that 200k. I don't see him as a top 6 forward at the end of the season. It's a perfect time to get rid of him, and the lucky stars have come for him getting injured to give you an excuse to do so. No one else I would target in this price bracket. This is an interesting bracket. The top 4, 100% would look at any of these. Gaff, a slow start, but when he has a good game, it's a good game. He's had 150 and 130. I see him very underpriced at 760. I see Lachie Neale underpriced at 747. He's slowly getting back to it after a slow start. I feel like he had an injury interrupted pre-season. There is a possibility of tags, especially this week with Curnow. So might not jump on him this week, but certainly an option. I love McCluggage, averaging 120 in the last 3. And with Neale possibly getting tagged, he usually gets a lot of the ball. He had a slow start when Brisbane had a slow start, but Brisbane's coming back now, so I feel like he's a good option. And Zeeble, he's just a pig back there in North defence, so with forward defensive status, I would certainly look at targeting him if you need a premium defender, because I see him finishing top 6 unless something happens. And another one I look at is Lloyd, who's 100k down from his starting price. He usually around this time, start of the season, seems to prop up and probably will end up still averaging 110 to 15 for the season. And there's no one really. If you have the money to get to Gawn, go to Gawn. But out of these options, I see the other 4s better. And it saves you about 70k on all these guys, but these guys are very safe options. Any of them I would, bar the bottom 3, any of them I would be happy to have in my team. So this week, Laird, Stewart, I'm most likely going to bench Ridley and bring in Bergman for Meek, who's on my utility, and then I'll switch Kaczynski into my utility and then move around from there. Short, Markov, hopefully Cox can come back after a bad performance. Captains, McRae and Merritt, I tend to like to loop between the two depending on who is playing first. Taranto's pretty safe option. Goulden, Campbell might be risky might be risky for being managed this week, so just be aware of that. Powell is going to keep playing, but again, all these rookies could be managed in the next few weeks. I've got a feeling Berry might be this week, Brockman, I feel like, will come back. Flynn's back, as we know. Grundy. Hopefully Treacy holds his spot, otherwise he could be a handy little loop. Dangerfield's a worry with his ankle. I'm looking at getting rid of Phillips this week. At the moment, for the money I have, I will be aiming for McCluggage for 7.29, and then I can move one of my mid forwards down to the forward line where I prefer to have them. Stevenson somehow is still averaging the 87, which I'll take. Warner again possibly could get managed, but I don't know. Rowe solid, and hopefully Robson comes back eventually, but with Brisbane playing well, probably not. And Scott just keeps doing what he's doing. So that's my preview for round 6. Good luck with your trades, and any queries, let me know in the comments. Thanks for listening.